Hi, friends. How we doing? Let me get the music going here. Um, there it is. I'm doing great today. Today was kind of like the first official day of my summer break because yesterday was Memorial Day, of course. So kind of everybody had that day off, you know. Weekend was the weekend. I feel like this is. There we go. I want that to happen. Weekend's the weekend, obviously. So today we really had the day to ourselves. It was great. I am going to really try to put forward a lot of personal projects this summer, and that'll make me really happy, hopefully. But for us today, we are continuing with our ranking of the 151 greatest Pokemon of all time. I think last week, last Wednesday maybe, was when I joined you in our last episode of this. But I do want to point out before we start that if you are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And comment also. I really want people to comment on these videos specifically because I think they are rife for discussion. But thank you in advance if you're watching this. But I put it in the chat. Pokemon Reorchestrated, Kanto Symphony, Braxton Burks. I'm just playing Braxton's, Pokemon reorchestrations during our time here on the ranking videos. But with all that said, let's kind of get into this here. We have, I'll give a little recap of where we were last episode. We have really been, it's been really nice and it's timed out nicely doing 10 at a time. So this wasn't in last episode, but I wanted to start with Smeargle at 120. Smeargle is a personal favorite of mine. I love him very, very much, especially with that signature iconic gimmick. At number 119, we had Landorus, Thundurus, and Tornadus, our first kind of co-entry. There might be a few more, who knows. At 118, we had Shaman. At 117, we had Manaphy, a little mythical run there. At 116, we have Pichu, connected to Pikachu, always going to be a plus. At 115, we had Arbok. At 114, we had Spiritomb. We just saw Spiritomb and Arceus. In 113, we had Rapidash, very underrated. At 112, we had Magneton, underrated, I think, as well. 111, we had Skarmory, another huge personal favorite of mine. And then at 110, we had Hitmonlee, the Kicking Fiend. I'm pretty sure that's what they say in that anime episode. But tonight, we are getting into 109 through 100. We are officially going to reach the top 100 tonight, which makes me very, very happy. Because once we get in there, we're going to start getting into the big boys. And I'm excited to talk about it. But it is fitting, because here at number 110, we had Hitmonlee, and just one spot above Hitmonlee, we have, at number 109, Hitmonchan. Now, Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee could have been occupants of one slot, I think, but I decided to put Hitmonchan one spot above Hitmonlee, mostly because of its edge in the trading card game. Hitmonchan has a couple notable points above Hitmonlee when it comes to the trading card game, so that's why I decided to put it a slot above. But other than that, it has a lot of the same resume highlights as Hitmonlee. It's an iconic gift Pokemon, one of the original fighting types. It was also a member of Bruno's Elite Four team 3 different times. It was a baby form. It got the baby form in Tyrogue. It got the branch evolution in Hitmontop. I talked at length about how much I love Hitmontop in the last episode, one of my all-time faves, but I feel like it couldn't have made it onto the list. But now to why. Hold on, let's go here. Ooh, let's zoom in a little bit. Not a great, pretty blurry, but this here is why I decided to put Hitmonchan above Hitmonlee. Hitmonchan has a holo in the original base set. As you can see, we got that first edition stamp and that shadowless border there on the edge. But Hitmonchan's holo in base set, any base set holo, that's going to give you a nice step above. I really like this one. Gosh, I love that old school holo pattern. Very simple, a lot like those original holos. But it really wasn't just that. We have this holo in Gym Heroes, and we are way above here. Ooh, I love this. So they're just releasing the new set Destined Rivals, and Rocket's Hitmonchan is a lot of what Destined Rivals is all about, because you can see that it belongs to a rocket. And this was from the Gym Heroes set, where every Pokemon was a trainer's Pokemon, like Blaine's Charizard and whatnot. I don't think Blaine's Charizard is in Gym Heroes, it's in Gym Challenge. But you get my point. Anyway, love this Rocket's Hitmonchan. It has this kind of sassy, like Sugimori art. I really, really like it. And again, those old school holo patterns, they just hit. I love it. So when you pick up Destined Rivals next week, or this weekend, wow, that's insane. Hopefully I'll be able to find it somewhere. But when you pick up Destined Rivals this weekend, know that it's kind of based around the Team Rocket set, the Gym Heroes, Gym Challenge sets. That's kind of a lot of what it is pulling from in Pokemon TCG history. But other than that, Hitmonchan has a lot of the same things going for it as Hitmonlee. But I wanted to shout out Hitmonchan just because of that big feature in the original TCG base set. Other than that, the design is kind of weird. People kind of don't like its weird skin clothes. That's a big thing for humanoid Pokemon, like in general. But there's something about Hitmonchan that works. Maybe it's because it was in the original set and I'm a little bit biased. And like you see kind of clothes like this on Pokemon like Machamp and whatnot. But really like Hitmonchan. It's our number 109 spot. All right, moving right along. Let's get into number 108. We have Xerneas. I will admit that kind of looking back on my list, I think Xerneas might be a little bit high, but I have such a soft spot for it. I think its design is amazing. I love just the big, majestic deer aesthetic that it has going on. I love, love, love the rainbow antler situation, even though it has a worse form in its original appearance in X and Y. But we just pretend that the rainbow form is the form that it always has. But love Xerneas, and I'll tell you why. So, it is the cover star of Pokemon X. If you are a cover star, that's a big deal. If I'm not mistaken, Xerneas might be our first cover star of our list. I'm trying to kind of go through everything, and I think that might be correct. Other than Yveltal. Yveltal, I think, was an honorable mention. But, so, you see Xerneas here at 108, and Yveltal all the way back in honorable mention. You might think, why? What's the edge that Xerneas has? And the thing that I point to is, and this is spoilers, so be warned, if you have not played the new Pokemon Snap, Xerneas is actually the final boss of that game. Something that I think is so cool and so rooted in lore within that universe and the Pokemon universe in general, and something that I really, really was not expecting when I played that game, Xerneas being the final boss. I loved it so much. And again, it's such a beautiful, majestic Pokemon. Very photogenic. But, yeah, right there. Final boss of New Pokemon Snap. I love that. If you have not played New Pokemon Snap, please get on that, because I love it. We will play it on this channel at some point, I promise. But, I talk at length here about its beautiful design. we have a really good promo here. And this is actually a promo card that it shares with Yveltal. But look at that. That is beautiful. I feel like I picked up this card for like $10 or $15 at one point. I have no idea what it's worth now. It's probably more. Everything in the TCG has gone up. But I freaking love this promo card, and Xerneas is featured with Yveltal on it. I'm very happy. I'm a very proud owner of this promo card. It has an absolutely iconic VGC signature move. It has the move Geomancy. And what it does, it's funny, I actually can't remember exactly what it does off the top of my head. But basically, it is a fairy-type move that really, 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 really boosts your stats. And it made Xerneas an absolute menace in VGC. And that's another thing Xerneas has going for it. It's definitely going to be one of the newer Pokemon on this list. I think we talked about like Toxtricity earlier. But Geomancy made a huge mark on the competitive scene when Xerneas first came out. Also, right here, ZA, question mark. I gotta think, and again, for those of you watching this that know of any leaks, please, I beg you, do not comment or anything or say anything, because I have not seen them and I don't want my viewers to see them. But I gotta think that our friend Xerneas here has some sort of feature in Legends ZA. So if I'm looking at Xerneas, 108 might be a bit high. I might knock him down 10, 20 spots. I don't know. But that presumed upcoming feature in ZA is going to be... I'm going to say this is speculative. This is kind of a speculative spot on the list. I remember I talked about when we had our first episode of this series, I talked about Nick Wright's 50 greatest NBA players of the last 50 years. And, he had Luka Doncic really high up. And it was kind of like a bit of a projection on his part. I guess you could say Xerneas at 108 is a little bit of a projection on my part. I think it's such a beautiful, well-designed Pokemon, and one that I think Pokemon is going to use going forward a lot. So, 108, we have a Xerneas. Sorry, my throat's a little messed up right now. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. At number 107, we have Weezing. If you recall, we have Arbok down here at 115, because that was a key Pokemon of Jessie. But at 107 here, a few slots above, we have Weezing, which was a featured Pokemon of James of Team Rocket in the anime. Now, why does Weezing get those extra couple spots? Well, it has a lot more features. Arbok kind of has a sneaky large amount of features, but Weezing has more, and we'll get into that. So, as I talked about, it is a featured Pokemon of James in the Pokemon anime. But let's just look right here. The big reason that Weezing is going to be above Arbok on our list is we have this beautiful, absolutely ridiculous regional form. I love Galarian Weezing. I know that it looks really silly with the big top hat, like the big British man top hat, but the idea is that it's like a smokestack, obviously, that's like purifying the air. Like it takes in the toxins and it releases the purified air, and that's why Weezing gets the fairy type. It's poison and fairy in the Sword and Shield games. And I actually used the Galarian Weezing in my very first playthrough of Shield, and I loved it. I really, really like this thing. The design is very polarizing, but I really love Galarian Weezing. It's great. It's great. But if we come back, that's the main thing Weezing has over Arbok. If we're being honest, we have that regional form, because they do have, I guess I should say, a similar amount of features. Wheezing is a Team Rocket staple. Specifically, I am thinking in the Johto games. If you recall, there's an executive at the top of the radio tower that's just got like a zillion coughings and wheezing. I think about that battle a lot, and wheezing is more heavily featured within Team Rocket in those games. And then wheezing, not many people might think of this, but in the original games, wheezing is not on Agatha's team. Wheezing is reserved for Koga. But in Let's Go, they let Agatha have a wheezing instead of 2 Gengars, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it's instead of the Haunter. Either way, Agatha has a wheezing, a lot like Bruno gets Poliwrath in Let's Go and Let's Go only. Agatha gets wheezing in Let's Go and Let's Go only. But big thing here, Gym Leader Koga's ace. You and I played through Yellow on our channel, but where Koga had all the Venonats and the Venomoth. But originally, Koga's ace is a wheezing. He had 2 coughings, a muck, and a wheezing. I remember I had a handbook, like a Pokemon handbook, when I was very young, and in the back it talked about all of the gym leaders' teams, and I always remember, it's stuck in my brain how I thought it, which is odd. I always thought 2 coughing, muck, wheezing. I'm like, that's Koga's team. I don't know why that stuck in my brain, but that's how I always thought about it. Anyway, wheezing is Koga's original ace, and probably a big reason why Agatha did not have one. And here we have another great feature as a team member of Opal. Opal is a gym leader in Sword and Shield. So Sword and Shield, the game where Galarian Wheezing was introduced, gets a nice feature on a gym leader team, which we love. Here, I have horrific design. Because, just look at this thing. The whole idea with Wheezing is that it's this terrible, like, cancerous mass of air pollution. And Wheezing and Muck kind of represent air pollution and water pollution in the original Pokemon games, which is a really cool dichotomy. And they eventually add kind of like land pollution in the form of Garbodor in Generation 5. So they have a lot of Pokemon that are based around pollution. And that's a big theme in, I think, like in Japanese culture, like I think of Spirited Away, for example. Pollution is a big deal. And it should be a big deal, right? We're killing the planet. Come on, guys. So, lastly, I want to talk about with Wheezing. Has some really nice TCG features. This card I love. It's only an uncommon in the original Fossil, but I love this card. I love the dirty, just like yellowy green. Wheezing's really giving that episode of SpongeBob when he eats the sundae and his breath smells and he has no idea why everybody is running away from him. I love that. That's very much Wheezing's vibe as well. Wheezing just ate ketchup onion sundae. Oh yes, we have a holo in Team Rocket, even though this one's kind of notorious. I don't really like this artwork. It's kind of funky in a way that I'm appreciating a little more right now. But this card's a little bit famous because you can't really tell it's holo that much. Like, even in this render, you can kind of see some of the sparkles, like in the top right corner there. But Dark Wheezing, if you are opening, you know, your $300 Team Rocket pack, you really don't want to pull a Dark Wheezing. You would much rather pull, you know, Dark Alakazam, Dark Charizard, something like that. And then lastly, Galaxy Hall decoration. We're playing through Legends Arceus right now, and on the Galaxy Hall there is like a Galarian Wheezing statue, like affixed to the second floor. And that actually makes a lot of sense because Professor Laventon from Legends Arceus is originally from Galar, so he knows about Galarian Wheezing, and they both came out in Generation 8. So they wanted to add some of one of the new Pokemon that they added in Sword and Shield. They wanted to kind of reference in Arceus. So I wanted to shout that out a little bit. I think Weezing has as good of a case as any. I think Weezing is another one of those Gen 1 Pokemon that we've talked about. Like we talked about Rapidash last episode, Magneton, Muck a little bit earlier. Pokemon that you might not think about as being high on the list, but they have just racked up accomplishments through the years. So that's why we see here at 107, Weezing. Love it. A lot to say about Weezing. Okay, so let's move on to number 106. So here, at number 106, we have Heracross. Heracross is a fan favorite, baby. I love this thing. I love that blue color. It has an iconic design. But one of the big things Heracross has going for it is that it has iconic rarity in 2 different games. In the game it was introduced in, Gold, Silver, Crystal, you could only find it via headbutt trees. And something interesting that we learned about in our Crystal playthrough was that based on your trainer ID, there's only a set amount of headbutt trees where Heracross could even possibly show up. And there was a little guide online that I used to help us find ours. But that's how rare Heracross is. If you're just a kid headbutting willy-nilly in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, you might be headbutting the wrong tree. You have no idea if that's a tree where you can find a Heracross. So Heracross was a Pokemon that I did not encounter a lot as a kid, but I have loved to use in my Gold, Silver, and Crystal playthroughs. But not only that, we talked about Munchlax earlier on this list. Heracross is another Honey Tree Pokemon in the Gen 4 games, and we talked about that. We talked about this a little bit when we were playing through Platinum. But our rival Barry, who is famously impatient and always on the go, actually has 2 Honey Tree Pokemon on his team, Heracross and Snorlax, which shows that he has learned to show a lot of patience through his playthrough, through his personal playthrough of Platinum, which is a piece of character development I really like. I wanted to talk about that again. And, of course, we mentioned here, rival Barry team member. I think that's the only time Heracross is going to show up on a rival team. But I'll actually add here in real time, in Generation 4, Heracross is a team member of Elite Four's Aaron. In the original Diamond, Pearl, and Pearl rather, Aaron has a Heracross, and he also keeps that Heracross in Platinum. The big change between Diamond and Pearl and Platinum for Aaron is in Diamond and Pearl he has a Dustox and a Beautifly. But in Platinum he has a Scizor and a Yanmega, so that's a big step up. That's why we played Platinum, kiddos. But again, Heracross, featured Pokemon of Ash Ketchum, and I'll come back to that. But again, Mega Evolution here, kids. Look at this form. I don't really like the Popeye forearms. That's not really my deal. But I do like Mega Heracross to an extent. Sometimes with these Mega forms, and again, just the fact that Heracross has a Mega, big feather in its cap. But some of the Mega Evolutions seemed like a little bit too much of a lateral move and not so much of an improvement. Because this design doesn't seem all that much better than Heracross's original design to me, but, that's just me. But we know that Heracross is a team member of Kamado in Legends Arceus. We've been playing through that, of course. There is that Alpha Heracross there in the northeast corner of the Obsidian Fieldlands, the Grueling Grove. We love that Alpha Heracross over there. Here's a nice little mention. Heracross gets Excuse me, sorry. Heracross gets a signature move when it was first introduced. I can't think. There is a possibility that like maybe Seaking or Nidoking learns it as well in Gen 2, but I don't think so. When Heracross was introduced, it got the move Mega Horn, which was like a super powerful bug move, really the only powerful bug move up until that point. And it was a signature move of Heracross, which I love. Not a ton of TCG love for Heracross. We do have a holo in Neo Genesis, which we love. It's just the OG Sugimori art. It looks like it's facing off against a pincer there in the foreground. But you know, Neo Genesis holo, can't scoff at that, even though it's not the most riveting. But there was a nice, I want to say, Temporal Forces, maybe? No, let me just type in Heracross. I do want to find this. I don't remember which set it was in. Ooh. I mean, if you search up any Pokemon at all, you're going to find some cool cards. Like this Hidden Legends card is pretty cool. But there's a modern illustration rare here for Heracross that I'm trying to find. Here it is. It's in Paldea Evolved. So we just have this little Heracross on the side of the road. I just remember this one. Wow, this is $25. That's insane. How about that? Oh yeah, I just got the Japanese version, the $5 Japanese version. The English version is the one that's expensive. That's a real hack for you kids out there. If you want to collect Pokemon cards, collect some of the Japanese singles. They're way cheaper. And you get the same art. You'll probably hear me say that multiple times in our little ranking here. But, so Heracross is a featured team member of Ash in the Johto Journeys anime. But I wanted to shout out, really, one of the last episodes of the anime I ever watched was when Heracross fought this dude Scizor. And it was like this dude who like didn't really care, didn't really like battling, but he had his Scizor, he's like, whatever. And he wanted to battle with his computer. Like he wanted to lean on analytics when he should be trusting his gut as a Pokemon trainer. So Ash's Heracross goes against this dude Scizor, and this dude thinks he's got it all figured out. He's like, the computer's going to tell me the perfect moves, and it does for a while. But then Ash and Heracross show their heart and their grit, and after an epic fight, Heracross defeats the Scizor. I freaking loved this fight as a kid. And again, it was maybe one of the last anime episodes I ever consistently watched growing up, but really wanted to shout out that fight with Heracross and Scizor in the anime. Really, really fun. And Ash's Heracross, of course, is victorious. But with that, I feel like we're good on Heracross. I mean, it's a fan favorite. I know this will be a pretty popular placement for the big bad Hercules Beetle Pokemon. But with that, we're going to move on. At number 105 in the list of 151 greatest Pokemon of all time, we have Marowak. Marowak has a resume that cannot be denied. In Generation 1, it has an iconic little mini-boss fight in the Pokemon Tower. We love that. It has the iconic lore of being Cubone's dead mother. Cubone wears the skull of its dead mother, and Marowak is that dead mother. You gotta fight them in Pokemon Tower and let them rest in peace for eternity. And we love that about Marowak. We love how much she's dead. We love it. But talk about that boss fight in Gen 1. Love it. Iconic lore connection to Cubone, and Cubone is a really, really iconic Pokemon in its own right. But dude, right here, the regional variant of Marowak in Alola is really like what got me really, really excited about the concept. It is a ghost fire type that's like a fire twirler person. It is ghost because it's famously like the ghost of Cubone's mother. It's so great. Not only does it tie into the Hawaiian aesthetic of Generation 7, it has like a lore implication as well. I love Alolan Marowak. And again, I think Alolan Marowak was really kind of like the poster child of the idea of regional variants, honestly. Or at least it was to me. Alolan Marowak, I think, is really, really great. Also, you gotta love that color scheme, that like deep, deep, deep purple that's almost black and like the teal blue flames. Love it. Oh my gosh, love Alolan Marowak. Trial Captain Kiowe, however you say that, I've never really known. Team member. And that is, of course, the Alolan Marowak. This is in Generation 7, Sun and Moon. It is not in the original boss fight in at the volcano there. That is Salazzle, which we also love. I think Salazzle was an honorable mention for that reason. But it is featured on Kiowe's actual team. Marowak is one of those Pokemon that gets a feature in Let's Go on the Champions team. Champion Trace has Marowak. I really like that for him because they really kind of beef up the Marowak stuff in Let's Go. So I thought it was cool that your rival used one. And we love that. We played through Yellow, and I played through Yellow mostly as a kid, but in Red and Blue and Fire Red and Leaf Green, you have a kind of like a rocket, like an elevated rocket grunt that's like right before you fight Giovanni in the Sylph Company, and that rocket grunt uses Marowak, which I think is kind of like a really cool nod and like a little mini boss, because here, featured in Pokemon Origins, that is a series of episodes that's based around the actual events of the original game. Red actually stars in it. They have a whole episode dedicated to Marowak and how Team Rocket probably killed Marowak and took advantage of it. So it was really cool to see that connection with the Team Rocket grunt, the elevated grunt, I'll say, in the original version of the Sylph Company dungeon crawl. And again, talk about featured in Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. A lot of Marowak's mystique comes from that feature at the Pokemon Tower in Kanto, and you get a lot of different versions of it. Red, Blue, and Yellow, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Let's Go, Origins. They really, really like that piece of lore when it comes to Marowak. As a matter of fact, they even reference it in the Detective Pikachu film because Cubone is featured there. And again, that connection to Cubone is a big point for Marowak. As far as Marowak goes in the TCG, I love Marowak's rookie card here in Jungle. As you can see, it has that awesome action shot. It's like it's in the Safari Zone, throwing that bone at you, using Bone Meringue. I love this artwork. Cubone's original Jungle artwork is also iconic and wonderful, but I wanted to shout this one out. But also this one right here. We have the Dark Marowak in Team Rocket Returns. Look at this guy standing on the building, peering down at you. Oh, I love this card. I did not get an opportunity to really open up the EX sets. And Team Rocket Returns is a very expensive set, very sought after, because a lot of those sets were not printed very much because it was kind of in a dip in Pokemon's popularity. But anyway, love Dark Marowak. I actually have this card, but in my version, on the bottom right, it has that Team Rocket Returns stamp on it, which is pretty sought after from these cards from the Gen 3 era. So I wanted to shout out Dark Marowak. Gotta love it. And that's about all I have for Marowak. That lore in Gen 1 is so prevalent throughout the entire series. And they really, really love going back to it. That and its absolutely iconic regional form are really what we're going to see are going to be Marowak's big points. Sorry, I'm scratching my foot. All right. Let's move right along. Number 104. We have Necrozma, Generation 7. This is definitely going to be one of our later additions in this episode of the ranking. Now, Necrozma's great. Necrozma has maybe the most iconic boss battle in the Pokemon series. It's kind of interesting. I don't really know. I don't really know how to quantify it. At least as far as modern Pokemon games go, really anything past Gen 5 I would kind of consider more modern. Necrozma has one of the most iconic boss battles. We just experienced one in Arceus with the Giratina Volo battle, but the battle against Ultra Necrozma in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was completely iconic and famous for its huge difficulty spike. Loved it. It's so epic. And that's really one of the main reasons we see Necrozma here on the list. But we have this great design. Look at this guy. If you can look at its face, it has like a lot of those different colors of the rainbow. And Necrozma itself is like a light prism Pokemon. And if you look at its Ultra form... Ooh, look at this thing. This light version of Necrozma, where it gains the Dragon type, is kind of like the true form of Necrozma, whereas the other form that we see it originally in the original Sun and Moon is like the dark glass prism version, but then you actually see all of that light that it's captured, kind of, here in its Ultra form. And this is where we see that amazing boss fight in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, where you fight this bad boy. So cool. I can't wait until we eventually play that. It also, Necrozma also gains 2 fusion forms. And here you can see Necrozma merged partially with Solgaleo and Lunala. I'm not the biggest fan of these, but they were 2 more forms from Necrozma. That gives Necrozma 4 forms. And with these 2 forms, I say here, it is 2 times a cover star, kind of. Because those artworks that we just saw, those are the artworks that are on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So Necrozma kind of shares the artwork with Solgaleo and Lunala in those games. And already talk about the iconic design here. Oh, yes, in the TCG it has a gold card, not a gold star card. But I wanted to shout this out here. Look at this bad boy. This Ultra Necrozma Photon Geyser Sky Scorching Light GX. I believe its signature Z move in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was called the Light That Burns the Sky, if I'm not mistaken. So love this Ultra Necrozma card. Doesn't have a ton of TCG history thus far. But yeah, like I said, Necrozma is definitely one of the newer Pokemon that made the list. Really on the back of that boss fight in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. If you have not played those games, I highly encourage you to. Because even though I do agree that they are a little bit too similar to Sun and Moon and change the story in ways that I don't think were beneficial, there are some amazing additions in those games, like the Ultra Necrozma fight, like the Rainbow Rocket episode. That's incredible. So, highly encourage you to play those games, or one of them at least. And then lastly, I put good lore and rarity. Talked about the lore a little bit. In Sun and Moon, there's an area called 10 Carat Hill. That's where you can find Rockruff on the first island, and you have to use Tauros to smash through the rocks. But Necrozma's just kind of like chilling in there, and you would never kind of really know it's there, which I thought kind of like hiding it mysteriously, but kind of in plain sight was really, really cool. I love stuff like that. Back when Pokemon was more random encounter based, I really liked having like Pokemon tucked away in like specific pieces of grass. Like I talked about Smeargle being in one piece of grass at the ruins of Alph. I thought that's really exclusive and cool. And they do a similar thing here with Necrozma in the original Sun and Moon games. Because he's not really a part of the story in the original Sun and Moon games, but he is a huge part, obviously, in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But here we have Necrozma at number 104. Hugely popular boss fight, but let's move on to number 103. Here at number 103, we have Electrode / Voltorb, another co-entry on the list. I think they both do a lot of the same things, and I think they both should get a shout out here. I could have just picked Voltorb because I feel like it's the more iconic Pokemon of the two by a little bit, but I wanted to shout both of them out. Look at this iconic design. They're just Pokeballs. They're sentient Pokeballs, essentially, and they have iconic static encounters. All through the original Pokemon games, you go into that power plant and you try to click on that item, but it's actually a Voltorb. You gotta love that, man. It was the original Pokemon to do that. They do that a little bit later in Gen 5 with the Moongus, but Voltorb was the OG. Love to see it. That iconic design is great. We talked about the static encounters, notably in the power plant in Generation 1. Also going to see those static encounters in the Magma Aqua hideout in Ruby and Sapphire, as well as New Mauville. They really bring back the Voltorb encounters in Generation 3, which I really appreciate. But probably my favorite overworld encounter for Voltorb / Electrode is in the Johto Team Rocket hideout in Mahogany Town. That moment at the end where you and Lance have to knock out all of the Electrode that are powering the generators of Team Rocket's plot is really, really cool because, like, you are stopping Team Rocket, but it's kind of bittersweet because they are kind of, like, making these Electrodes slave away, powering stuff for them, and you kind of have to, like, put them out of their misery. I mean, you're not killing them or anything, but I really, really love that, and I think that's a really cool story moment for Electrode. Also, both of these Pokemon get a feature in the... I don't want to download it. Hold on, pardon me. Both of these Pokemon get a feature in the original TCG base set. TCG player. Excuse you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, man. So here we see Voltorb's original artwork in the TCG. Very simple kind of CG, early CG art, not very good. And we see the same here with Electrode. Gets the similar treatment. I do love that background. It was funny. I talked about this a little bit. I think I did earlier. I was thinking it. I've been putting together binders of my original Pokemon card collection, and that's made me very, very happy looking at some of these old artworks. But they both are featured in the original TCG base set. Electrode also has the honor of this beautiful jungle hollow. This is really, really nice. It's by Mitsuhiro Arita, which is really, really cool. And again, gotta love that OG hollow pattern on base set jungle fossil. Gotta love it. But we have been playing through Arceus. We have this absolutely amazing regional form for both of them. And if you look at Voltorb here, it looks way happier because there's a little hole on the top of its head. And because the original Voltorb was made of apricorns, so it's a grass electric type. But then it becomes a regular electric type. And the lore kind of leads you to a place of where when people start creating Pokeballs and start mass producing them, they kind of plug up that hole, which is why once you start seeing Voltorb in the future, they're more angry, they're more kind of pent up, and they're more likely to explode because they are, those holes have been plugged and they can't really live freely like they used to back in the days of Hisui. So I love that piece of lore for the Hisui and Voltorb. I also love its type. Grass Electric, that's so cool. Love it. And then you have Electrode, obviously. And Electrode gets that lovely boss fight in the Coronet Highlands in Legends Arceus as well. So, Voltorb and Electrode are the Pokeball Pokemon. They represent Pokeballs, which is a huge, huge thing in the franchise. And they had to have a place on our list. Great TCG history, really nice feature in Legends Arceus. Voltorb and Electrode were no-brainers for me. It was just a matter of placement. All right, love these Pokemon. All right, let's go to number 102. Here we have Gallade. I kind of surprised myself with Gallade. Just look at this thing. This is one of the coolest Pokemon ever made. Love the arms. A really cool alternative to Gardevoir, kind of like the boy version of Gardevoir is Gallade. Even though you can have a boy Gardevoir, and I'm pretty sure you can have a girl Gallade because you just need the stone. I don't remember if Gallade is male exclusive, but it's definitely like male coded. Anyway, so we played through the original Gen 3 Emerald, where Wally's ace is Gardevoir. But as we will find out when we play the Gen 3 remakes, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Wally actually gets Gallade as his new ace. And Wally has a huge glow up in those games, and Gallade has a sick Mega Evolution that gets to be featured in that game. And that is really the reason it's up here, is that feature with Wally. It is so great. Talk about Mega Evolution. I say iconic Mega Evolution the best. This thing is so sick to me. I've heard people say they don't like the cape. How do you not like the cape, man? This thing looks so freaking good. I love Mega Gallade, and Wally is able to use one in those Gen 3 remakes in Gen 6. So, love Mega Gallade, and with that, you get its Paradox form as well in the Scarlet and Violet games, and I haven't really given my disclaimer yet this episode. I talk about a lot of spoilers for Pokemon games in this ranking, obviously, so please be warned. In the Scarlet and Violet Pokemon games, Gallade/Gardevoir get this awesome Paradox Pokemon called Iron Valiant. It's like a future version, but it is kind of a mixture of both of them. It is a fighting fairy type, right? Yes. And it has features of Gardevoir with kind of like the skirt, but that's also like Mega Gallade's cape. And it has Gardevoir's kind of like hair head thing, but also Gallade's little fin at the top. And it has like blades like Gallade has. It's a mixture of both of them is the thing. And this is one of the key Paradox Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. As a matter of fact, it is AI Turo's ace Pokemon in outside of Miraidon, obviously, in Scarlet. in Violet rather. Talk about its iconic design. It looks so freaking good. It's really, really great. So I talked about Wally a lot, but it also is Lucian's ace Pokemon. In Platinum, we experienced that. Lucian actually does not have a Gallade in Diamond and Pearl, one of the many faults with those games. Lucian's ace in that game is Bronzong, but in Platinum, the superior of the Generation 4 experiences, Lucian has a Gallade as his ace, which is way better and super, super cool. And we experienced the Legends Arceus, something a little bit more low-key. Gallade is featured on Benny's team. And Benny, as we talked about in our playthrough, is an ancestor of Wally. So Benny actually has a Gardevoir and a Gallade as a nod to Wally, which we love. Oh, yes. And Gallade also has this nice... oh my gosh, look at this. It has this beautiful secret rare in Cosmic Eclipse. Cosmic Eclipse was the first set to really feature kind of what you would call like trainer gallery cards that you would experience in later like Sword and Shield sets and whatnot. Here we see Gallade with Wally, obviously. Oh, and the beautiful flowers. Gosh. Love this card. But Cosmic Eclipse has a set of trainer gallery cards that was really the first of its kind. And Cosmic Eclipse is very sought after nowadays. That and Team Up. Oh, Team Up. I love that set. Love that set. All right. So that's pretty much what we have here for Gallade. Its big features with Lucian and Wally, that Mega Evolution and Paradox form really, really elevated a lot. And I know it's a big fan favorite. Being connected to Gardevoir at all is a huge plus because Gardevoir is definitely one of the most popular Pokemon of all time. But I think Gallade is a really, really, really worthy companion to Gardevoir. And with that, let's keep trucking. At number 101, we have Empoleon. I love Empoleon. Empoleon has maybe one of the greatest designs ever. I mean, just look at that. It's an emperor penguin. Its face is a trident. It is a water steel type. To my knowledge, it is still the only water steel type Pokemon. Such a great typing, and those kind of like sharp edges on its fins really kind of like hearken to the steel type without making it look like overtly steelish. It's great design on Empoleon. Love it. It is 2 times a starter Pokemon. Obviously, it is featured in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, as well as their remakes, their very controversial remakes. I already talked about its iconic design. Best starter design, ? I think Empoleon has a case that it has as strong a design as any starter Pokemon ever. And we saw Torterra on the in honorable mention. We saw Infernape back in the 130s, if I'm not mistaken. So why is Empoleon here? Well, we have its iconic typing. We have that it was a Pokemon of ace Pokemon of rival Berry. I think it is the strongest design of the 3. But really, one of the main things that put Empoleon over the top for me for the against the other 2 starters of Sinnoh was that it's featured in Pokémon Tournament. It is a playable Pokemon in that game. I think that is an underrated game. Obviously, you guys know I love Pokemon and Tekken. We played through Tekken 2 here on this channel. We'll probably get to Tekken 3 at some point because I love that game as well. But being featured in Pokémon Tournament, I thought was a big resume lift for Empoleon as compared to Infernape and Torterra. Empoleon, like those other 2 Pokemon, has a cool alpha encounter in Legends Arceus. But another thing I love about Empoleon is we get this great alt art card. Look at this bad boy. This is in Battle Styles. I absolutely adore this card. I remember waiting for a really long time to pick it up because I really wanted the price to go down. I love that we see Phalanx in here. I love that it's balancing against the on top of the rock with the little waterfall there. I absolutely adore this card. One of my favorite modern cards, and it really elevated Empoleon for me. Rapid Strike up there. And then as a nice little sweetener, it is on Elite for Amaris. It's on Amaris' team in the DLC, that Indigo Disc DLC of Scarlet and Violet. I love Empoleon. I know the Sinnoh starters are all very, very popular. It's funny. I'm speaking so highly of Empoleon, but we started with Torterra. Torterra is my personal favorite, but I think Empoleon is just so strong from a design standpoint that it needed to have a strong placement on our list as well. Okay. So, here we are about to hit Pokemon number 100 on our list of 151 greatest Pokemon of all time. So we are starting the top 100. We're ending this episode beginning the top 100. And I am really excited about this one. I think it is a fitting 100th Pokemon on our list. So, without further ado, at number 100, we have Geodude. Geodude, the humble Geodude, is number 100 on the list of greatest Pokemon of all time. It has a resume that cannot be denied. It is an early game icon. You see Geodude so often in the early game. You see it in Gen 1, you see it in Gen 3, you see it in Gen 4, even in Gen 2, not featured in a gym, but it's still there. Geodude is absolutely iconic in the early game. And not only that, it's an iconic Pokemon of Brock in the anime. Geodude, it's humble. It really is. But it deserves this spot. So, we say featured Pokemon of the anime is Brock. Like, in that original Kanto season of the anime, he's using Geodude all the time. It's Geodude and Onix, baby. And we'll talk about Onix. But when you talk about the template for, like, a first boss in gaming, honestly, Geodude Onix. It's so great. It is the companion to Onix in that it is a team member of Brock, a team member of Roxanne, and a team member of Rourke. Like I said, it is. You might get tired of it, honestly, but I think it is. It's a glue Pokemon. It is just. Geodude represents what a Pokemon is, kind of. That iconic design. Look how simple and stupid that is, but it's also wonderful and captures the imagination. And he's just a little guy. He's a rock that's a dude, man. That's what he is. And it's like Geode, but Geodude. What a great pun. I love Geodude here. We have this. We have it in a Alolan form in Generation 7. Here, Geodude on the Alolan Islands is reacting to kind of the, I guess, like the metals and sediments and magnetic fields of the island. So Geodude is a rock and electric type in those games, which is very cool. And I'll go ahead and say, Geodude is the lone representative of its family here. So Geodude is taking in the resumes of Graveler and Golem as well. Golem being one of those iconic first trade evolution Pokemon. But Geodude can be such a hurdle for first-time Pokemon players, especially Charmander selectors. It's funny, Geodude and Graveler really make me think of J-Rose. J-Rose 11 is a streamer, Pokemon YouTuber, where he'll do challenge runs all the time. And there's this famous hiker in Rock Tunnel that he always has a hard time with because he's doing challenge runs where like there might not be a good matchup. But when you fight against those Geodudes and Gravelers in the original game and you don't have the right matchup, it can be really, really tough. There's a nice Pokemon Snap feature for Geodude in the river level where you kind of have to knock a bunch of Geodude and Geodude down, and it will like make a Sandshrew or Sandslash like pop up from the ground, which is really, really cool. I love that feature in Pokemon Snap. And just as a nice little cap, I want to show off Geodude's card and fossil. I mean, this right here, this is OG. This is just the perfect artwork for Geodude. Love that red background. Really, if you collected the TCG at all back when I did in the 90s and 2000s, this artwork really, really takes you back. Really, really love this. Actually, the Golem artwork from Fossil is one of my favorite artworks ever in the TCG. And it's really simple, but it has kind of that same kind of red-orange color to it. But I love kind of like the purplish magenta sky. I love, love, love this artwork of Golem. I think it's so, so cool. And I remember as a kid, it really, really captured my imagination. So I wanted to shout that out while I'm talking about Geodude. But again, Geodude is super, super strong. A great, great early game Pokemon. An anime staple. Really kind of represents the design philosophy of the early Pokemon games. I think Geodude is an absolutely iconic Pokemon and a very, very worthy Pokemon to have the number 100 spot in the 151 greatest Pokemon of all time. And with that, I will bring our episode tonight to a close. We are officially into the top 100. This is so, so great. I cannot wait to continue this with you. I mean, I guess if we're going to continue on our current trajectory, we have about 10 more episodes left of this, which makes me very, very happy. We should be finishing up Arceus soon. So we'll be able to finish that up and continue this. But I have the next game lined up, and it's going to surprise you. But I'm really, really happy. Anyway, thank you all for being here with me tonight. Again, I will ask and remind you that if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. Please do. Go ahead and like the video. I appreciate you all watching after the fact. I have some people kind of telling me that, like, I remember someone was like, I just finished your Platinum playthrough. Now I'm starting through Arceus, which makes me really, really happy. That's why I have the YouTube channel, so that you all can watch those Let's Plays at your leisure. But with that, folks, I hope that you had a great Memorial Day. If you're not in America, I hope you had a great Monday. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I will probably see you sometime this weekend for our next episode of Arceus. But again, summer's just starting. I hope you all get outside, have a good time. I hope you all stay inside as well and watch my videos. But with that, folks, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. Can't wait to finish this series. Have a good night. Peace, kids.